Welcome back to another episode of the VF Engineering YouTube channel. Right behind me is a 2008 Porsche 911. It's a 997.1. It's got the old low pressure fuel injection system. So you may know the 997.2 is a high pressure DFI system. This vehicle's been fitted with our Vortec based supercharger kit. So many people know us for our Lamborghini and Audi V10 supercharger systems, but we've been developing systems since 1996, starting with the Volkswagen VR6, some BMW M3 applications, and then the 911, starting with the 996 Porsche, which came out in 1999, and then the 997, which came out in 2005. So we developed this entire bolt-on supercharger kit, which runs up to 6.5 PSI, and on this 2008 3.8-litre flat-six engine, it adds 155 horsepower and 80 pounds of torque. So power goes up from the factory 355 horsepower to 510, goes up from 295 pounds of torque to 370 pounds of torque. What we'll do is we'll hop in and take it for a ride, and I'll show you some of the driving characteristics and how this adds to the fun of what's already an amazing 911. So this 2008 997 Carrera S comes with a lot of great equipment. It's a really nice driver's car. I had one for about 3 years. I had a 2007 C4S, very similar to this 2008 Carrera S. Some of the differences are amongst the different models. They come with what's called a chrono package, which has a sport mode, a different timing instrument cluster as well, various different aspects of trim. This particular one's very driver-oriented. It's a 6-speed manual, as you can see. Allows you to really explore the full potential of the car. Very smooth, very nice clutch engagement, and with the supercharger, it doesn't change. That's what's really nice about a centrifugal supercharger. The Vortec unit that we're using in this car will actually create boost dependent upon the RPM and, of course, the engine's volumetric efficiency. So the power delivery of the engine remains very, very linear. It doesn't come in with a quick ramp up. It comes in with a progressive lead-in to the power. And that's what makes it so smooth and drivable. Very pleasurable to actually drive in a pushy way or just take it really easy in traffic. And then there's no nuances associated with modifying this car after you've supercharged it. It drives just like the completely stock one. In a moment, we'll get on the freeway, and I'm going to show you what it feels like through the RPM range. This particular car is set up with the stock rev limiter with the supercharger. And of course, it's got our charge cooling system. So a charge cooler is an aftercooler. In this case, it's a air-to-water intercooler. So we have a heat exchanger, which is jacketed with a separate reservoir of coolant. It has its own radiator, water pump, and a reservoir tank. And that's used to cool the air charge coming out of the supercharger. Centrifugal superchargers typically don't create a lot of heat or don't add a lot of heat to the air charge during the action of compression, depending on what they're set to. So we've set the supercharger up for 6.5 PSI at peak, a red line, which is 7,200 on this car. And you'll see that if you look at a curve of the boost, that it's actually a very linear curve, we call it, but it's actually a straight line, the trace for the boost. That means that basically we're not going to push the drivetrain and the engine, aggressively or at any particular lead-in. So it's very gentle on even the automatic model of the 997 and the 996. So a lot of 911s that we've supercharged are actually a combination automatic and manual. And it just makes the car so much more pleasurable. You've got more torque right there. You don't have to rev the car too much to really explore that added torque, to really experience it. Before the supercharger was on this car, or on a stock 911, typically you'll find that when you're on the freeway or when you're in some traffic and you want to speed up or go around an object or another car, you might have to drop a gear. And the fun thing with the supercharger is you no longer have to do that, really. You can just give it a little more throttle input and the acceleration will help you just accelerate quite nicely and smoothly. You can hear the engine, sounds really happy. You can hear that typical flat six roar that you get with the engine right behind the driver's seat there. I'm in third gear. And here we are, traffic limited, but we will find some open space. For a 2008 911, this has got remarkably low miles. In particular, we're just under 40,000, sitting here at 39,700. And the owner of this car and previous owners have taken great care of it. I can feel from the steering that the suspension is really smooth and tight. I can also tell from throttle acceleration that this car is in good shape. So what I was saying is I really like this car because you could take like a 2006 or a 7 or an 8 997, which today, depending on the condition, could be anywhere between $30,000 and $45,000 for a completely stock one. Add a supercharger for about $12,000, all said and done, and you've added 150 horsepower to it, taking it from a pretty special car to something even more special, a little more exciting, something to get a bit more joy from. You can feel some more punch from this car. Now it feels like it's really going places.